God bless you today, and the Lord keep you. At this time, let me ask, are there any questions? Yes, Brother Lewis.
Pastor, in the second book, Second Chronicles and 7, and Haggai 1, when you read it, he's speaking of what house is he talking about? He's talking about the temple.
Okay, what the question again?
In the Second Chronicles, Haggai 1, he's speaking of the house. You know, my house is in ruin.
Mm-hmm.
How you bought the ruin, how you let the locusts in.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Haggai, you know, you get the drought coming.
Yeah.
What house is it?
And that's the temple. That's the temple has this Henry, Second Chronicle. It should be the second temple. They have 4 temples. Well, not 3 temples. And the one that was built before the exile, before Israel went to Babylon. And when he came back, they built another temple. And that has to do with the temple. It's the temple itself. And what God is saying that they have dishonored the temple that was supposed to be for offerings and the worship, and they just had neglected his house.
Same house that he's speaking of Haggai?
I don't really know, but I wouldn't think so, because that's a big gap between Chronicles, Second Chronicles, and Haggai, right? I think that should be a big gap. It may be like I know they had 3 temples. That one that Solomon built, one after Solomon, and then the one that would destroy Jesus said, well, you know, there would not be a stone left upon another. That's the 3rd one, and then yet one more temple to be built. Now, I would think pretty much that it is the same temple. I'm not sure. Because again, there's only 3 been built. God has promised 4. 3 been built, and you see, 3 been built, 3 been destroyed. You know, not to deviate from that. God said 4 temples. Well, that 4 temples supposed to be built. They're going to be a 4th temple supposed to be built. Right now, the Mosque of Omar is on that particular site, which Muslim, and it's sacred to them. But yet the Bible says that temple is going to be built there. So you kind of figure that's where the war going to really begin, because somehow or another something got to happen to get that mosque out off of that particular, right on that particular hill where the temple, the 4th temple is going to be built. And again, that's not connected to that. But since you mentioned it, there's going to be a 4th temple. Again, where the Bible says that temple is going to be built, that's the Mosque of Omar, a holy site for Muslims. And in order for that temple to be built there, that mosque has to be destroyed. And if the Jews destroy it, but then we know that's going to be the last World War, so that might be the reason to it. But as far as whether that's the same temple, and I would think that it's the first temple that in Chronicles, because again, that destroyed Solomon built a temple, so that would be 2. So I really can't say, but it just might be. I'll look it up for you to make sure. Do you have any other questions? Okay, if not, let's look at Psalms. Let's look at 143. You might be recapping something. 143. Let's read together. Trouble and anguish have taken hold on me, yet thy commandments are my delight. So David said, I'm going through much. I'm suffering. Much have come against me. But in spite of my suffering, in spite of the troubles that I have, and in spite of those who are against me, he said, my delight is your commandments. You would not allow, listen, trouble and anguish could not rob David of his delight in God's word. All the calamities of this world cannot rob the Christian of the peace and the pleasure of God's word. If you really have God's word in your heart, if you're really committed to it, and if you really know the value of it, having experienced the power of that word, and the power of that word to satisfy, to comfort, to strengthen, then no matter what comes in your life, no matter what comes in the believer's life, nothing, no trouble, no anguish, no disappointment, no heartache, nothing can rob the Christian of the comfort of God's word. And that's what David is saying. Trouble and anguish have taken hold of me. They engulfed me. Yet I find delight. I find peace. I find satisfaction. I find hope. I find joy. And because of my love for God's word, I'm able to go on. I'm able to keep on. And that's not the privilege of David only. It can be every one of our privileges. And what determines whether you exercise that privilege or not is your commitment, the level of your commitment. It's a degree to which you will commit yourself to God's word. If you make God's word your all in all, if you base your entire life upon it, if you cast all of your care upon the word of God, then you will have that confidence, that assurance, that satisfaction that David had. Amen? Okay. Find the 2 Corinthians 1 and 5. I put that scripture up there for some reason. 2 Corinthians 1 and 5. Let's read together. For as the suffering of Christ abound in us, so our consolation also abound by Christ. That's a good supported scripture. For as the suffering of Christ abound in us, as we suffer for our loyalty and our commitment to Christ, as we suffer because of our failure to conform to this world and this world's system, as we stand on God and stand with Him, as we believe Him, then no matter what, how much suffering we incur because of our faith in God, He's saying the consolation also abounded by Christ. In other words, you heard me say before, though Satan may pour his fury on you, Christ will pour His grace in you. And this is what He's saying. God gives grace equal to the task. God will match every temptation, every trial, every suffering of the believer with satisfying sufficient grace. It's a matter of who do you look to and what do you look to when trouble comes your way, when disappointment and sorrow come in, heartaches and pain come your way. What do you look to? What do you hold on to? And so Paul says, for as the suffering of Christ abound in us, so our consolation also abounded by Christ. Second Corinthians, we said 1. Let's read. Let's follow from 2 Corinthians first. Let's go to 6th verse. The 6th verse. Let's read. And whether we be afflicted, it is for your consolation and your salvation, which is effectual in the endurance of the same suffering which we also suffer. Or whether we be confident, it is for your consolation and for your salvation. In other words, Paul said, we're going through some stuff, but whether it be, no matter what the suffering is and the nature of that suffering, he said it is for your consolation, and it's for Corinthian Christian, it's for your consolation, it is for your salvation. Go to verse 7:7. And our hope of you is steadfast, knowing that as you are partaker of the suffering, so shall we be also of the consolation. If you partake of the suffering of Christ, if you partake of the suffering that we are enduring and going through, Paul said, so shall you also be partakers of the consolation. God will never leave you out in the cold. He will never abandon you. He will always be with you. And see, that's the message you have to internalize in your heart. No matter what you go through, and no matter what comes your way, even if, as it is sometimes you bring it on yourself, God, if you turn to him and trust him, God will give you a consolation grace, comforting grace, consoling grace. And let's go to the 8th verse. For we would not, brethren, have you ignorant of our troubles which came to us in Asia, that we were pressed out of measure, above strength, beyond what we were able to bear, and so much that we despise even of life. Next verse. But we had the sentence of death in ourselves, that we should not trust in ourselves, but in God which raised us to death, who deliver us from so great a death, and does deliver us, in whom we trust, that he will yet deliver us. In other words, Paul and his co-workers, they went through much. They went through much suffering. But he's helped. And you hear me say, sometime at the funeral, when I speak, most of the time I'll say that in 2 Corinthians 1st chapter, in the first 7 verses, Paul uses the word comfort or consolation 10 times. He said that he comforted us that we might be able to comfort those who are in trouble. You follow? Okay, then also I included, I think, the 4th chapter, 2 Corinthians 4th chapter, the 17th verse. Let's see what we got there. And you hear me quote that when I bring the body in. For our light affliction, which is but for a moment, worketh for us a far more exceeding and eternal weight of glory, while we look not at the things that are seen, but at the things that are not seen. For the things that are seen are temporal, the things that are not seen are eternal. Paul said, what we go through, Brother Brass, is light affliction. Paul said that's just a light affliction. He said, but you can recognize it to be light affliction. You can deal with it as such, and it can be conquered by your focus. How is that? Let's see. I think we see it in there. For we know that not that. Not go back to right. While we look not at the things which are seen, you see, it's the thing that would determine the outcome of your experience. Or what would determine the outcome of your experience is your focus. It's your focus. I said something I believe I did in the sermon Sunday. You're not blessed because you have trouble in your life. The blessing comes not because you have trouble and hardship. The blessing doesn't come because of trouble and hardship. The blessing will be determined by your focus and how you respond to the trouble. See, trouble will either make you better or make you bitter. Sometimes you're a rev, you just don't know what I'm going through. You're not going through no more than what anybody else is going through. And don't think God's going to have pity and mercy on you simply because trouble comes to your life. You follow what I'm saying? If you think that way, then I would refer you to the news, part of the news earlier, where this man killed his ex-wife, girlfriend, whatever, and killed her boyfriend and killed himself, and the children was placed in the care of the state. You don't think those children going through some stuff? You don't think a relative going? You're not going through that. Matter of fact, Hebrews said we have not resisted unto blood. So look, don't stop feeling sorry for yourself and thinking, well, I'm just bearing my crown. Some of what you're bearing is trouble because you mess with stuff, folk business that you didn't have any business messing with. Some of the stuff you're going through is because you made some bad choices. Some of the things I went through are going through is because I made some bad choices. Well, it's just my cross. That's not a cross. A cross is what you bear as a result of being loyal to Christ. The price you pay for being committed to Christ. That's the cross. Other stuff, there might be trouble. And trouble again. Because you stuck your nose in somebody else's business. Let's look at verse 144. Psalm 144. Let's read together. The righteousness of thy testimony is everlasting. Give me understanding. I shall live. I want you to listen to this. The righteousness of thy testimony is everlasting. The righteousness of thy testimony is everlasting. Your testimonies are right. What you say about yourself is right. And what you have decreed is right. In some other place he said, and your judgment, they are right. They are everlasting. You can bank on it. You can count on it. And God will not change what you have said, what you have declared. God said, here it is. As he said in Deuteronomy, I place before you blessing and cursing, life and death. Choose which one. You choose. If you choose this way, you're going to result in death, hardship, burdens, untold suffering, guilt. But if you choose this life, you're going to result in contentment, comfort, strength, hope. And no matter how raw the deal may be you get in life, he said, you're going to know the grace of God that is able to keep you. But I place it before you. Here it is. Blessings or curse. Life or death. For the righteousness of thy testimony, they are everlasting. They will not change. I think I mentioned to you on last week, which means that God will bless in time. When we walk before him faithfully, God will bless in time, but God will also declare sentences in eternity. More change. Those who trust in me with all of their heart and lean not to their own understanding, those who acknowledge me in all their ways, will benefit from my guidance and leadership. I will lead them and I will guide them. Those who give and pay that tithe, bring that tithe to the storehouse of not just put the money there, but their heart is right. Their heart their heart is committed to embracing and living by God's principle. So when they bring their tithe into the storehouse, I'm going to open in this life the windows of heaven and pour them out blessing that there shall not be room, have no room enough to receive. I'm going to do that in this life. Because my testimonies are everlasting. And because my testimonies are everlasting, I am going to bless in time according to what I've said. But also in eternity, when it comes down to sentencing, in eternity, when these bodies of ours have outlived the limitation under which they exist. Scripture bear that you put on the board last week. I'm coming quickly. And I'm going to pay every man according to his work. We can count on God providing for his people in time, but we also can count on God sentencing out sentence that are due those who have lived without him in eternity. I'm going to pay every man according to what his word shall be. And so then, the righteousness of that testimony is everlasting. Listen to me, if you please. The righteousness of that testimony is everlasting, which means that they cannot be altered. They cannot be altered. Hear me well. They cannot be altered. In our system of government, Supreme Court can get together and change some laws, whatever it is. The legislature can get together and do this and do that. They can change laws that have been on the book for a long time. But with God laws and with God principles and with God statutes, with God testimony, with God commandment, with God precepts, David said it's everlasting. There's no change in that. There's only one person voted on this. It was God. And he's not subject to the opinion and the whim of man. That's the way it is. I don't like what Rev say sometimes, I just going to another church. I don't like to go wherever you want to go. The word of God doesn't change. You might go and sit under somebody who have changed it in terms of what they teach, what they preach. But let me tell you, you are held accountable not for what man said, but for what God said. And I'm going to be right there to tell you. I told y'all. I'm going to stand out there. I just want to have a ring sheet at the judgment. And this, I told him. Of course, I don't need that because he says in this way that the books will be open and everything will be there. So he doesn't need me. That's where your joy, that's where my joy and my peace is, because that pastor, as preacher, I know what I teach is right. I know that. And so my comfort is knowing that, no matter what. Listen. We need to admit this truth. The righteousness of thy testimony is everlasting, cannot be altered. We need to admit that truth into our hearts. We need to, once you accept that whatever God said, it is eternally settled. Once you can accept that, then you can go on and now regulate your thoughts and regulate your choices based on acceptance of what? The everlasting nature of God's truth. Whenever we accept the truth that God's word is final, definitive, when we accept that truth, then we're going to experience the power of that truth. And experience the power that truth has to sustain us in all trials and tribulations. Well, I don't know. Somehow we might have to help God out, and maybe look like it's taking too long, and my prayer not being answered. You may go through all of that, but you see, if you can ever accept the fact that God's word, as the psalmist says, is settled in heaven. It's when you accept that. When you accept it, then you experience the power of it. You're sick, you're feeling bad, you got cramps in the stomach and headache. You take the medicine. You can put the medicine on the shelf and look at it and say, boy, that's a wonderful bottle of medicine. Oh, that doctor have a wonderful looking handwriting. But until you internalize, until you take it, you see, you come to Bible class, you can admire what goes on. And you can say, Brother Gaines is a half decent teacher. But until you internalize the word of God, you won't experience the power of it. Because the power of it is not simply in me saying it. The power is in you believing it, building your life on it, and trusting it. So it's only when you accept it that you experience its power to sustain you in all trial and tribulation. It's almost like you say, come on, bring it on. For my light affliction is but for a moment. This too shall pass. It's gonna go away. I'm crying now, I'm hurting now, weeping in the night there. But if I hold on, joy is gonna come in the morning. There will be a change. A change will come. God will give you what you need. There's no shortcut to it. You can't replace this truth with pep rally at church. Everybody jumping, making all kind of noise, and running around and doing other stuff. You can't replace truth with pep rally activity. It's about internalizing it in your heart, believing it in your mind. And when you believe it and accept it in your mind, it goes to the heart. And when it goes to the heart, the center of one being, then it regulates your activities. God is not a dumb God that he just throws out there and say, go ahead and make all the noise you can make. And then that's not. God is a very intelligent God. It takes 56 factors to be precise in order for life to exist on earth. When we look at just one of those factors, we see how that the DNA of the cells, the DNA, the information that is in your cell that determines your life and determines what you can do and whatever, there are trillions of DNA, and it can be held in a teaspoon, a trillion of them. And it's so precise, it's like putting 50, it's like putting 10 million and 53 zeros behind it. That's just one factor. That's 56 factors that are necessary for life. But that's just one factor, how precise it has to be. Just one factor. And if it was anywhere off, then life couldn't exist on earth. Somebody said, yeah, but Darwin, Charles Darwin said the evolution of the species, and said this. At the time when Darwin came up with this foolishness, this knowledge wasn't even known by scientists. And so then James Tour, who was a nanoscientist at Rice University, said only a rookie will say that science had put God out of business. He said, but if you really study science, he said, science will strengthen your faith in God. This professor from Harvard University, he said he started out like that too, and following the rules that say follow the information where it leads. Don't go to it with preconceived ideas. He said just follow the information where it leads. And he said by doing that and scientists and understanding that, he said it led me to faith in God. There's a whole lot of stuff, and that's I'm going to move on with it. But there's a whole lot of truths and that we have that's never mentioned in terms of what we preach or what we teach, whatever the case is. But let me tell you, this Bible is a marvelous book, and your God is a great God. And this is the kind of God that you serve, and this is the kind of God who has your life in his hand. And this is the kind of God who said, if I can do that, put 56 factors into what I have made, and everything had to be precise. He said, if I could do that, he said, I can take care of your little stuff. Yeah, but the Big Bang Theory said this. The Big Bang Theory proves Genesis 1 and 1 because scientists say there could not be any loosely, unorganized, anything that could bring about life on earth. And they said it had to come from something, a great explosion or so. And Moses wrote, saying in the beginning, God created the heaven. He slapped it out there. But anyway, whenever you accept this, it becomes an abiding principle in your soul. It stays in your soul and you live by it. And no matter what comes your way, no matter what you go through in life, no matter what you face and what your challenges are in life, you live by this principle, and that is everything God says is right. And everything God says is true. God has not changed anything yet. And as I was with Moses, he said to Joshua, so will I be with you. And so God has never failed. And there's no one yet has ever accused God of not being true to his word. He prays for grace. Look what he said. Give me what? Understanding. Those who know much about the word of God should covet to know more. But there is much more to be known. That's why you're here tonight. Those who know much about the word of God should covet to know more about it. Because you cannot exhaust it. He does not write the psalmist does not pray for more revelation, but he prays for more understanding. He doesn't pray for more revelation. I wish I could know more. I wish I could learn more. He said, no, I want understanding of that which I already know. And you suit yourself well. If you think about how much you know and what you do know about God and his word and whatever, you're trying to get more understanding about that rather than trying. Accept the new stuff and more stuff. But concentrate on what you already know and try to understand that. You know that Jesus said that, I'm going away and I'm going to send you another comforter. You read that in John. You know that. I'm going away, but I will not leave you orphan. I'm going to send you another comforter. You know that. Now I want to know more about it. Understand more about it. Well, when you understand more about it, you go back to it. Let's look at it. Jesus said to his disciples, I'm going to send you another comforter. I know that. But did you know there are two words in the Greek for another? One means another of a different kind, and the other word means another of the same kind. And when Jesus said, I'm going to send you another comforter, he used that word with me, one of the same kind. In other words, when I'm going to send you, who I'm going to send you will be just like me. Oh, okay. Another comforter. So that, okay, a comforter, all right. Well, let's look at it. Comforter, Bible written in the New Testament, written in Greek, is comforter. That's the word Jesus used was paraclete. That word paraclete means helper. So what they understood Jesus to say, I'm going to send you one just like me, and he's going to help you. Get a little more understanding. So it comes from the word paraclete, but that word comes from the Latin word fortis, which means brave. So how the disciples heard him, I'm going to send you one just like myself, who's going to make you brave and help you to do what I say do. And when you get it down like that, then you can go on about your business. So he prays for more understanding. He prays for more understanding. See, what we know, whatever we know, we need to know it better. The reason why there's so much conflict in housing, I mean, in relationship, whether it's friend relationship, whatever it is, the reason why there's so much conflict in relationship is because we know each other, but we don't know each other enough. We need to know each other better. And so then if I know each other better, dear, then I'm not going to accuse you of being selfish. I'm not going to accuse you of disregarding my feelings if I knew that you simply was acting out of your own distinct personality, if I knew you better. If I knew you better, I won't say that you just walk over me and just don't, you got something against me. If I know you better, then I'll realize that you just got a doctor's report and you've been worried about that, and then your mind was gone when you passed. I give you a benefit of the doubt. What we know, we need to know it better. And we only can know it better as we labor in the Word of God, as we buy books or whatever, in some cases, to help us to understand. If we stay on our knees before him and trust the Holy Spirit, whom Jesus said shall lead and guide you into all truth. He'll give you understanding. It doesn't mean that you don't have to be taught. You have to be taught. But what it means is that he's going to lead you to the right teaching. You're not going to make your decision based on how much noise that takes place in the fellowship or in the church. You're going to make your decision based on the power of the Holy Ghost operating in the fellowship and giving indisputable evidence of himself that God's glory resides within. his people. Somehow or another. You don't hear what I'm saying? Do you? I'm going to say this, and God knows, y'all know me. I don't have no ego problem. None whatsoever. I was drinking beer when they called me the pastor. To the God be the glory. When my wife was in Hobby Lobby, when that was Friday, Monday, when she was in Hobby Lobby Monday, and I'm sitting listening to my CD, my music, and said, about a half an hour, I said, well, I'm going to go in there. And I walked out of the car, and there was a young man. He was picking up money for Salvation Army, you know, the hurricane. Mm-hmm. And I walked by him and I spoke to him. He spoke to me. He said, you're a pastor? He said, I see it all over. I see it in you. You're a pastor. He's a young man, 23 years old. He said, you're a pastor? I said, yes, I am. And he said, well, I see that in you. Then he started talking. He had this word straight himself. But the young man has been through much that caused him to hurt. And he needs somebody to talk to. Matter of fact, he called me last night, and he's supposed to call outside the Bible class. Point of emphasis, he'd been hurt, and he was rejected. He grew up, he said, in a foster home. And but at that moment, I go in the store. I never got in the store. Matter of fact, my wife came out. But my point of emphasis is that, listen to me. If God got an assignment for you, if God got an assignment for you, you're going to wind up in the right place at the right time.
Oh, yeah.
You don't have to make your opportunity. God's going to make your opportunity. You just have to be ready to take advantage of the opportunity when it comes. Whatever you saw, whatever you felt, whatever led him to draw that conclusion about me just looking at me, it was because of God wanting to see that, because that was a ministry and that was a mission that I had to be on. And there was some information he needed to receive. It had nothing to do with me being better than nobody else. It had everything to do with me being willing to be used by God. And the same thing can happen to you. Maybe not exactly like that, but if you be willing, God can use you and God will use you. But the devil will play with you and make you, well, you know, this now. Don't forget now. You remember 2 years ago. God is still using imperfect people.
My Lord.
The only person that God ever used outside of Christ was an imperfect person. Okay, so he said, okay, let's look at 145. Okay, let's read together. I cried with what? My whole heart. Hear me, O Lord. I will keep thy statutes. Listen, an intelligent devotion is led by divine promises and leads to an increase of gracious affection arising from a contemplation of revealed truth. Oh, Lord, okay, let me break it down for us. An intelligent devotion. An intelligent devotion. A devotion that makes sense, that's involved the intellect, not just the emotion. Where you're looking to feel something. Intelligent devotion that is based on God's word is led by divine promise. I cried with my whole heart, hear me, O Lord. That's an intelligent devotion. I cried with my whole heart, hear me, O Lord. Because David had experiences, and David had learned that God was a rewarder of those who diligently seek him. It was based on God's promise. If my people who are called by my name shall humble themselves, pray, seek my face, turn from their wicked ways, then will I hear from heaven a promise. I will heal thy land of promise. If they bring their tithe into the storehouse, I open the windows of heaven and pour out blessings, promises. So if you know that and believe that, then you can render intelligent devotion, and it's not based on superstition or based on emotionalism. It is based on an accurate knowledge and a true knowledge of what God said. Give God what he asked for. He asked for a true heart. He asked for love. He asked that love be the determining factor in our relationship with one another. Give him what he asked for. Seek first the kingdom of heaven. Give him what he asked for. Knock, the door will be open. Seek, you shall find. Ask, it shall be given. Give God what he asked for. Learn what he asked for, and then pray that and trust that he will do it because he has already promised to do it. And that way you won't have to run around giving some old crazy worship or whatever that's supposed to be. An intelligent worship is based on the knowledge of having God's promise, based on knowing what God said. And as you know what he said, you become confident in it, and then you pray what he said. You give him back what he said, and it just peace comes to your heart. And God is a jealous God. God just like to show off. And so then when you trust him, and when you say what he said, when you believe what he said, God begins to show off. He opened windows over there. He prepared table right over here. He moved mountains, and he opened up Red Seas, and he knocked down walls of Jericho. Why, God? Because God likes to show off. If you want him to show off, then exercise faith, because without faith it is impossible to please God. Am I preaching and teaching it or not? It ain't about me. It ain't about you. It's about God. And God will give you according to your faith and your trust in him. And I say give, I'm not limited to money and resources, physical resources. He'll give you the joy of your salvation. Folks who have money will be crying and wailing, and you broke as you can be. Nothing but joy. But he likes to show off. Told you what?
A lady told me when I broke my neck, a lady told me that God was showing off because I wasn't paralyzed.
Well, I guess that's another way to say it. But I hope that God, when he get ready to show off with me, he choose some other way. Hold on, Lord, what about a finger?
Thank you.
But he is a good God. Father, he is a good God. And I understand that. And your folks say things. Let me say things. My wife said I got a third side. They ever think, let me give you a third side. Maybe it was something like this. And I'm not talking to Sister White, I'm talking about myself. Maybe it was something that I did or didn't do that caused me to slip, move wrong, and break my neck. And then God said, I'm going to show off. Not by breaking the thing, I'm going to show off by healing it. You see? Yeah.
She was thinking about me and her husband, how we handle our sickness.
Yeah.
And she said to herself that God allows certain things to happen to certain people. And she said to herself, God said I'm allowed Audrey to break her neck because she can handle it, and other people could see what I could do through her.
Well, like I said,
Please,
I
Lord.
understand that. But I don't know. It may not be that God had to break my neck for other people to see what he could do. I guess I always have a third side. I thought when he got Jesus up after being dead for 3 days, and after being in the grave for 3 days, and when he got Jesus up, I think he kind of showed us what he could do. But anyway, let's move on. And so then, listen. Prayer is measured by the extent of the heart being involved. How much do your prayer work? How much do your prayer weigh? It can be determined by the words you use. The value of your prayer cannot be determined by the plausibility of your approach to God. The value of your prayer is determined by the condition of your heart. If the heart is clean, if the heart loves God, if the heart is at peace with its fellow man, if the heart is trusting God, and if the heart is based its entire life on the Word of God, then your prayer works a whole lot.
My Lord.
But prayer coming from a sincere heart is of inestimable value. Prayer coming from a corrupt heart. Prayer coming from hypocrisy. Prayer coming from self-conceit. This doesn't mean nothing. And so then, when David prays, he knows what the condition of his heart is. Let's go to 146. Let's read together. I cried unto thee, save me, and I shall keep thy testimony. Good, he said, I cried unto thee, save me, and I shall keep thy testimony. Now, he has already committed to keeping God's testimony. He's not saying that if you do this and if you do that, then I believe that. No, he's not saying that. I cried unto thee, save me, and I shall keep thy testimony. I shall keep them better than what I've done before, because I emerge stronger. I'll keep your testimony. Your grace and your mercy toward me will energize my spirit so that I'm going to do more to be in your will. I'm going to give myself more to you. I cried. In other words, right there, I cried. He wrestled in prayer. I cried. He didn't been nonchalant, like, well, Lord, I thank you for, I thank you brought me through the day. Thank you for the day's work, and you brought me home safely on the highway. And I thank you for the food I got on my table. And then that's all right. But David said, I wrestled in prayer. I cried. My prayer was intense. I felt it like somebody said, used to say years ago, until my heart hurt in my body. I cried unto thee. I poured out my soul to you. I knew how valuable prayer was. I know how important it was for you to be involved in answering my prayer and determining the order of my life. See, I cried. I didn't approach this haphazardly. I didn't take a casual attitude. Sometimes when I'm in my study on Sundays, you normally come out right after the announcement. So that means I'm back in the back about 10 after 10, quarter after 10. Just so happened, I know that by habit, I guess I have my blinds open. And I see folks 10 after, quarter after. My mind, they're already late. then they stop if you got a little child, it's pulling the child flat, pulling this together, tying a little bow, and make sure the wrinkle is out there. And I'm saying, get that at home, you know. But anyway, now by this time it's quarter after, almost 20 after. And I won't label them, but it's possible that they might be casual worshipers. It's far from what David said. I was glad when I said unto me, let us go to the house of the Lord. I want to get into your house. I want to be there. I want to be involved. Because you don't necessarily have to bless at the end of the service or in the middle of the service. You might want to bless me at the very beginning of the service. You don't hear what I'm saying? But that's not, you know, I don't think the folk that they kind of get a little attitude when you tell them about it. I don't tell them about it. That's between you and God. I'm only responsible for me. You follow? And that's it. But I just happen to mention that. But it's you see, when you join this church, or you baptized in this church, whatever, however way you got here, it meant that you accepted what the word is. You accepted the totality of this ministry. And if you didn't do that, then you're in the wrong place. That means I accept this. It's like when you buy something, they give you all this and all of that, and now on your telephone, whatever it is, do you agree to this? And you check it off, I agree. It means that you accepted what was going on. You didn't come in to change nothing. You accepted what was going on. You accepted this ministry. You believe in the ministry, right? And so then if you believe in something, you accept something, then you ought to fall in line with it. But don't come and try to change things. Y'all don't know what I'm saying. Not that, that's like, look, it's not going to change my blessing one bit. It's not going to change what God's doing with you one bit or anything like that. But it may be affecting your relationship with God. And it may be interfering with God's purpose for you. Maybe God got blessing for you. And you thinking, well, as long as I don't run around, I don't commit adultery, I don't steal, I get the blessing. It may not be in those 4 big things. It might be in something very small and simple that God requires from you. And it may be a hindrance. Far from getting mad with me, you ought to be glad that you got a pastor who will tell you the truth. Either I'm right or I'm wrong. If I'm wrong, heck, don't even think about me. But if I'm right, maybe you. But getting mad ain't an answer. And nothing yet ever been solved about getting mad. But okay, get back to the inspirational aspect of it. I cried, he said. I cried. He wrestled in prayer. He directed his prayer to God. A child must need go to his father. We utter our complaints to man when we ought to cry out to God. He said, I cried unto thee. I cried unto you because you had the power to change my situation. You had the power to set me free. You had the power to make my enemies leave me alone. You had the power to give me grace sufficient to meet all my needs. I cried unto you because you the one can do something about my situation. I love my friends. I thank my friends. My friend can only sympathize with me, but you are the one who can make a difference. You're the one that can turn my midnight into days. You're the one that can bring that victory out of the jaws of defeat. You're the one. That's why I cried unto you. Cried to man because he judged me according to his own standard. And you, listen to me, you take information, you process information, and you interpret information based on where you are and based on your own experience. You got it? You see, whatever you believe, or how you take a statement deep, It is based on where you are, what you have experienced. It is based on your level of comprehension. That's why 10 years from now, some of the things that you hold now, you're going to have a different view because you will have experienced some other things. Y'all don't hear what I'm saying? You don't hear what I'm saying? Okay, but anyway, I cried to thee, and my prayer saved me. Save me from the destruction that others seek to level against me, but save me from my own tendency to take the wrong turn, to make the wrong choice. I found out a long time ago, Sister Carol, that I needed saving, but I needed saving from me, for myself, than I need from anybody else. Because other folk can only suggest, can't make me. But there were times that I made bad decisions, wrong decisions. So I need you to save me from me. And this is what he cried. Save me! Save me! Save me! Save me! He prayed for salvation. He prayed to be happy. We need desire no more than God's salvation and the things that accompany it. Save me. He prays for salvation. We're not talking salvation simply to go to heaven when you die, but salvation means deliverance from evil or consequence of evil doing. So he prays for deliverance. Save me. Give me your salvation, because he recognized that involved in salvation is strength, power, peace, contentment, joy, staying power. If I'm going to be steadfast and unmovable, then I need your salvation. If I'm going to withstand the fiery trial and the fiery dart that comes against me by Satan, I need your salvation. If I'm going to survive the onslaught that comes against me, even by family members, I need your salvation. So we pray, save me, and I shall keep thy, when you have rejuvenated my strength. I shall keep thy testimony, that is, save me from my sins. I shall keep thy testimony. Save me from the enemy without, but save me from the enemy within. That corrupt heart. That unenlightened mind. Save me. He seeks to escape the consequences of sin. Keep me. Save me. Strengthen me. So I can keep your testimony. In all things, I can choose your testimony over other stuff. You don't hear what I'm saying? I shall keep thy testimony. Save me from my sin, my corruptions. Save me from my temptation and all the hindrances that lie in my way, that I may keep thy testimony. Now, I want to keep your testimony, but there are some obstacles. There are some evil tendencies in me. I have the propensity to follow the wrong crowd. Save me from this, so that the way might be clear, that I can walk in the path, that I can keep my eyes on the star post that sits in Zion. Save me, that I can focus on you, not the problem, but focus on the problem solver. Save me from following the wrong teaching, the wrong doctrine. Some folks are just so messed up. And they're messed up because they never learned to pray that God would save them from the enticing, attractive words, empty words that have no substance. They sound good. And they satisfy emotional appetites. But they're not the words of Christ. For much, or less the Spirit of Christ. And they're like James talk about, they're like the wind grab a little bit of this, teaching, they grab a little bit of that, and they grab a little bit over this, and they grab a little bit of that. Wind up with a heterogeneous situation that has no substance. Jesus said, my yoke is easy, and my burden is light. And you can find rest. Every restless soul can know they can find rest for the soul. Am I helping somebody? Listen. He wanted not so much the ease and the comfort of the absence of trouble. Watch, I cried unto thee, save me, and I shall keep thy commandment. There. He's not asking so much for the removal of obstacles and trouble. I cried, save me. He's not asking that his way be a little more easier than what it was. He said, save me that I might keep your testimony. Because there are a lot of things that comes into my life, and there are a lot of things that comes in the way that make it difficult for me to do what you want me to do and to say what you want me to say. Sometimes when I want to go right, I go left. When I want to go up, I go down. There are times when I want to do good, I find myself doing bad. Save me from that. You're not asking for salvation, saved from the obstacle. He's asking to be saved from all the hindrances that stop him from being what God wants him to be. And stop him from doing what God, that we can develop a love for God in his way like that. That we cry out to him, whatever it is that is in my way, whatever it is that's stopping me from being what you want me to be, whatever it is that's keeping you from using me the way you want to use me, Lord, move it out of my way.
My Lord.
And move it out of my way. And then you sit down and you take inventory. You study the course of your life. And you develop a tracking system. You hear Margaret Orr and Bob Breck and some of them come on television, so we're going to track the stone. We go over here in the Sinai Peninsula, and they're going to come up through here, and they're going to hit Mexico. When they hit Mexico, they're going to go into the Gulf, and then they're going to go, we're tracking the stone. You know what I'm saying? Tracking the stone. I'm going somewhere with this. We need to develop a spiritual tracking system, and we need to chart out when I get up in the morning, what do I do? When I do the day, what do I do? In the time for telephone conversation, what do I do? What do I say? You ought to have a tracking system.
Amen.
And as you follow the tracking system and you see places that you go that's really not paying much dividend, you see yourself spending a whole lot of time in non-important, non-essential things. Maybe you just need to cut that out. And you might find out that perhaps on average you're wasting 5 hours a day. You know, crazy, stupid stories and all that kind of stuff. You might be wasting 5 hours a day reading the novels and stuff like that. Makeup stuff. Maybe you can cut out 5 hours and then you take the 5 hours and invest that in that which is going to strengthen your life and going to draw you nearer to God and going to make you a stronger person and going to give you a better understanding of God's word. Am I making sense? Yeah. Your tracking system. And you'd be surprised how much time you waste in the course of the day. And multiply that times 350. How many days is that? Days is it? 365? Multiply. If you waste 5 hours a day, let's say true. I'm going to give you all the benefit of the doubt. Most of y'all look like y'all waste my truth. Y'all got my point. But there 365 days a year. And if you're wasting 3 hours, 1,095. Mathematician, a dead on it. And let nobody think he's talking from experience. But anyway, that's it.
Yes, indeed. He set himself up for that.
I had to tell a blind that, you know, sometimes we just go overboard. Okay, let's look at 147. 147. Mike still on? Can you hear me? Mike not on, right? Maybe the battery. So let's look at it. Let's look at 147. Let's read together. I prevented the dawning of the morning and cried, I hope in thy word. I prevented the dawning of the morning and cried, I hope in thy word. Okay, to make this simple, listen. Two great exercises that attended David's prayer. First of all, you see hope. He hoped in God's word. Secondly, he meditated in God's word. The more time we spend in God's word, the more we are able to pray his language. And the better we know what to pray for. The more you spend in God's word, the better you understand what you ought to pray for. See, the Holy Spirit, he uses the word. And if you get word in you, Holy Spirit got a whole lot he can use. But if all you know is John 3:16, he's going to work with you, God's going to guide and everything, but you're not giving him a whole lot to work with. When you face trouble and you face difficulty with faith in God. But you got to have a little something here. Besides, when trouble comes, John 3:16, God so loved the world. You got trouble in your home, in your relationship. God so loved the world. Give it only begotten Son. You got a problem on the job. You're trying to decide whether you should accept this position or not accept it. Pay more money, but you're not sure that this is what God wants for you. And then, but can you get promotion or transfer, like Sister Tia? And then, but God so loved the world that He gave His only begotten Son. You got to have a little bit more. Yes, God. That's wonderful, wonderful. And you look and we thinking that it got to happen this way. You got that, but God got many ways to skin a cat. You all like that? When you fishermen, God got many ways He can skin a cat. Yeah. He can bless you by giving you a promotion and making you not just a system, but making you the head. He can bless you by not giving you promotion, but yet giving you peace. And God can bless you by demoting you, and you get less money. Why is that a blessing? When you was making that higher thing, you had all kind of help. You make a little bit less money, but you got peace. You got satisfaction. But not only that, God will take the little. You see, with God, a little bit with God will go much further than a whole lot without God. You ever went in the store and you bought it, you still can't figure out how you was able to buy all of this stuff, and you knew you didn't have a $27 in your pocket. And that's what God is. Thank you, darling. That's wonderful. When we learn to pray, and not the fancy word stuff, but praying the word of God, the truth of God, it makes a difference. Right? And so then, two great exercises that attended David's prayer was hope and meditation. He said, I prevented the dawning. What he means is that I got up early. I prevented the dawning. Prevent means to precede. Like Paul said, those who are alive shall not prevent those who are sleeping. In other words, those who are alive will not be risen, go up to meet Christ before the ones in the grave. So prevent. He's saying before. Look, I prevented the dawning. I didn't wait until the noonday. I didn't wait until The chicken was going back to bed. He said, I got up early. That's what he meant. I got up early. He valued praying so much that he got up early. We ought to begin our day with God when the mind is still fresh. Before you have gotten that telephone call, before you have watched that news, before you have read that in the newspaper, before you have had experience with people on your job, the mind is still fresh. Their mind is still fresh. So first thing you ought to put in your mind is the Word of God. And that would dictate and direct the rest of your day. I'm coming to a close now. I need about 5 more minutes. Let's look at verse 148. Mine eyes prevent the night watches, that I might meditate in thy word. Now, Jews had that time divided into watches. You know the Bible saying the forward watch of the night? It means period. Period. So what he's saying, my eyes prevent the night watch. In other words, when I did go to sleep and I woke up, I didn't make going back to sleep my priority. He said, when I woke up the first time I woke up, he said, I talked to God. I meditated on his word. I said, I'm going to go back to sleep. I'll go back to sleep a little later, but before I go back to sleep, I want to have a little conversation with him. I want to tell him all about my struggles. He'll hear my faintest cry. He'll answer by and by. Before I'm struggling, I get to go back to sleep. But before I go back to sleep, I need to read a scripture, and I need to just meditate. I need to bring my child before God, the presence of God. I need to address God to address this particular situation. I'm going to work in about 5 hours, and I know what the hell I caught last time, or I know the difficulty at my job. So then, before I go back to sleep, I'm going to have a little talk with him.
Amen.
Oh, how I love it. I love it. I love it. And so when I woke up this morning, I picked up the psalmist said, I woke up this morning, I think, if I remember, it was about close to 4:30. And so I turned over and I said, I'm going back to sleep. That's like something Spirit said, get up and praise the Lord. So 4:30, 4:45, I get up. But that's some of the best time of my life. And I get up. Some of the best time of my life. And when I got up, I noticed the clock. And it was 2 minutes, Liddell, from being an hour. I fell back on my knees. I said, I got to put in an hour. And when I said, well, I should have made it. And so I went 1 minute over. I said, that's it, I can get back to bed. But the point of emphasis is that he said, I take time with God. I take time to talk. Whenever you get so busy, you can't spend quality, significant time in prayer. You're too busy. You need to talk to God. You need to talk. God can do for you in 1 second what you can't do for yourself in a whole year.
No.
But put him first. I'm coming to a close. Look, mine eyes prevent, when he awakened from his first sleep, he would rather meditate on God than to go back to sleep. He made time for secret devotion. We must find time for prayer. Watch this. You got to get this. Serious moral commitment will necessitate a serious prayer life. When we get serious, I'm not saying we're not serious, but I'm saying at some point in time in our life, when we get serious about our moral commitment, doing those morally wrong things, lust and all this stuff, when we get serious about our moral commitment, it's going to lead us to pray because we know we need God to protect us and to keep us. Savior, lead me lest I stray. Anybody remember that song? With serious moral, if you want to avoid moral failure. If you want to avoid moral failure. If the boyfriend and the girlfriend want to avoid moral failure. If the problem married want to avoid moral failure. If that sister in the office and that man on the job want to avoid moral failure, I had to do the prayer at that was the Senate section, right? And my wife and I went there. And we were, while I'm waiting in the chamber, there we on. I got to give the prayer. And she right there by my side. And when we left out, after all that was over, we could not help but discuss how them sisters was dressing. Goodness gracious. And she and I was talking about it. And the point of emphasis is that if you want to, men are attracted to women and women are attracted to men. And no matter what you say, how much you fell out Sunday. Temptation is great. And if you're going to avoid moral failure, you got to spend some time in prayer. You got to develop your relationship with God and become strong in the Lord so that when your weak moment comes, you can lean on him and trust him to hold you and trust him to keep you.
Amen.
Don't let nobody fool you. You're not beyond what that other person felt. Jesus said, in me, he is our only security. Because if you won't fall to that, it's something that you will fall to. All of us have our area of vulnerability. For some, it's this. For others, it's that. Some folk can't stand to see $1 lying around. They got to steal. They got to take. Well, everybody got their thing, y'all. Some folk got hormone problems. We need God's grace.
Yes.
You hear what I'm saying? That's why you find old fools. Because you cannot outgrow your sinful tendency. You hear what I'm saying? Growing old does not deliver a person from the enslavement of sin. We need Christ.
My Lord.
Whether we're young, middle-aged, or old. Okay, I'm almost finished. So that was verse 148? Okay, we'll do this in 3 minutes. Look at 149. 149. Let's read together. Hear my voice according to your loving kindness. O Lord, quicken me according to thy judgment. Listen, revive my heart. Stir me up to that which is good, that which is just, that which is holy. Hear my voice according to your loving kindness. Quicken me. Stir me up. May righteousness take a greater hold of my heart. Reproduce your nature in me, that I might love that which is right and do the right thing. And look what he said. He asked God for this, and his hope is based on two things. First of all, he said, do it according to your loving kindness. You are a kind God. You are the loving God. You are a good God. God is good, and so he will be good to me. That's what David is saying. According to your loving kindness, because it is your nature to be good, I know you're going to be good to me. I'm counting on you to be good to me. And then he not only based his plea on God's loving kindness, he also placed his plea on God's judgment, according to your judgment. That is, according to your promise. According to God's judgment, God's wisdom, and what he is saying, Lord, you know what's best for me. And because you know what's best for me, do it according to that. And I believe that you will perform all that you declared. Verse 150, we're going to do 150 and 51. Let's look at 150. The 150, he said, they draw nigh that follow after mischief. He said they just won't lighten up. They are far from the Lord. And the reason why they're coming to destroy me, the reason why they are so aggressive in their pursuit, and the reason why they want to destroy me is that they are so far from your law. If they had your law in their heart, if they had your word in their heart, if they believed in you, they wouldn't be treating me the way that they're treating me. And so when you're wrestling with it honestly and sincerely, when you're wrestling with this, I don't know why they're doing that to me. I don't know why they act like that. I don't know why they turn against me. I don't know why they're not treating me like I did this, but and I didn't mean no harm, and all of a sudden they don't have nothing to do with me. It may be because they are far from God's law. You say, well, but they come to church. I didn't say it. David said, they mistreat me, not because they don't come to church, not because they don't sing in the choir, not because they're not deacons, not because they're not deaconess, not because they're not pastors and preachers. He said, they change on me, they turn on me, they become antagonistic. Why? Because they are far from his law. And then after they might be the first name on the roll, on the church roll. Because your name, the first name on the church roll, doesn't mean that you're close to the Lord. How do I know when I'm close to the Lord? You know it by the way you treat your brothers and the way you treat your sisters. You know it by compassion and your love and forgiveness. And finally, 151. Let's read together. I didn't give y'all that one because we all for the next 2 Wednesdays, I think. Thou art, let's read together. Thou art near, O Lord, and all thy commandments are true. Go back to 150. They draw nigh that follow after mischief. Go back to 151. Thou art near. Do you get it? Go back to 150. Close it. They draw nigh. My enemy, they draw nigh that follow after mischief. Go back to 151. Thou art near. In other words, the enemy come near me, but he come near me to destroy me. But Lord, you come near me. You come near to bless me. You come near to save me. Don't forget that. No matter what comes against you, and no matter who come against you, they may come near, close enough to hit you from the blind side, close enough to hit you a hard blow. But they're not the only one that's near. God is near you too. And God will absorb the power of that blow. God is going to give you the grace to deal with that blow. And God is going to give you the staying power to when it hits you on the right side with that blow, you can turn the other cheek. And that's the way you do it. Like Martin Luther King said, you disarm your opponent. You disarm your opponent, not by cussing him out. You disarm your opponent, not by trying to belittle and embarrass. You disarm your opponent by loving like Christ loved. Because when you love like Christ loved, you have his favor. And if you have his favor, he's going to bestow his power. And if he bestow his power, he's going to bestow his joy. He's going to bestow his contentment. You're going to be free. He's going to lift you above that. It won't matter to you what they say and what they do. They don't act like they used to act. They don't have to act like they used to act. I'm only concerned about God acting like he used to act. You can survive men changing with you from good to bad. But you can't survive if God changes you. I thought I did all right here tonight. Glory, hallelujah. Amen. That's the message. That's your Merry Christmas on Wednesday. Amen. Glory, Sister Ethel, I need to see you before you leave. Ethel White. Glory, hallelujah. That tossed and driven, battered by an angry sea. Page 393. When the storms of life are raging, and their fury falls on me, I wonder what I have done. That makes this race so hard to run. Then I say to my soul, take courage. Take courage. The Lord will make a way somehow. Look, honestly, you ought to be able to say, I try to do my best in service. My best in service. live the best I can. But when I choose to do the right thing, that's what I was talking about tonight. Evil present on every hand. I look up and wonder why. Wonder why that good fortune passed me by. Then I say to my soul, be patient. He knows where you are. He's working on it. The Lord will make a way somehow. Oh, the Lord will make a way somehow. When beneath the cross I bow. When beneath the cross I bow. You know what? He will take away each sorrow. This is your privilege. Let him have your burden right now. And when the load bears down so heavy, the weight is shown upon my brow. You know what? There's a sweet relief in knowing. Make a way somehow. Not all the time, this preacher, but often there is misunderstanding. Understand, out of all the good I do, I go to friends for consolation. And I find them complaining too. So many nights I toss in pain. Wondering what the day will bring. But I say to my heart, don't worry. The Lord will make a way somehow. Way somehow. Lift your voice and say, the Lord will make a way. Mama might not be able to. Father may not be able to. When beneath the cross I bow, He will take away each sorrow one by one. Let him have your burdens now. Let him have your burdens now. When the load bears down so heavy, down so heavy, oh, the weight shone upon my brow. As we stand all over this place here, now is a sweet relief. You know, one more time, the Lord will make a way. Stop looking for your job and your friend, your family. The Lord gonna make a way. Oh, when you need the cross, oh yes, He will take away His sorrow. Oh, let Him. You're present here tonight. The Lord has spoken to your heart. can come by letter, by Christian experience, candidate for baptism, come and say yes to the Lord Jesus Christ. All that he purposed for you, all that he have committed himself to do for you. Lord bless you real good. Lord keep you. Let us gravitate to one another. Join our hands together.